full set of gum here. Sorry about that. There we go. Oh, there we are. Hi, welcome back. How you doing? Ready for another week of Haskell hacking? Are we? Well, let's get to it. We'll get some. Okay, Adventure Engine. The game engine of this game that I don't really know what to call at the moment. So, no code name. But, if you have any ideas, please chat. Let me know. Let's discuss this. Let's figure it out. So last week we added some, like, basic stuff, got a bit of way through the to-do list. I got some things going. What do we get going? That's a good question. Let's look. I'm just gonna run this on fast. File watch. Like that. If I could learn how to type, that would be good. Oh, I'm all over the place tonight. Yeah, so Adventure Engine. It looks like this. Oh, it looks like it popped up in the background here. Cool. And so last week we got the scrolling working properly the way we want it to. So it goes to the front door here. And we go back to the regular door. We can pick up the shovel. We added the inventory onto the right side of the screen here. So that's the inventory over there. So you can see we're holding the shovel now. And the scroll bar, when we start scrolling, is going to show up on in the middle here. And if I walked through the front door again, yeah. So just this middle area scrolls. Always scrolls to the bottom, so like what you're currently looking at, the scene you're currently looking at, is right above your input line. Good to go there. And we could drop the shovel and that kind of stuff. Brawly bucket. Oh look, I'm picking up the whole brawly bucket. Okay. So that's all well and good. We also implemented these sort of meta commands like quit. So it's like $quit. And that'll be eventually where we hook in to add saving and all kinds of stuff. All right. Oh, blue juice tonight. Not the good for you juice, technically, but pretty okay. Good tasting. So what are we going to do tonight? I think we're going to work on maybe some of the gameplay stuff, I guess. Maybe. Probably. Seems like about time we should probably take a break from all of this widget layout GUI stuff and start getting things going. So let's look at our project list. And our to-do file. Right, so there's some meta commands around implement saving, restoring. I want to fix the parser, the command parser a little bit so we can support better, like verb, in this case, verbs with spaces in their names would be nice. Object interaction, I think is probably what I want to try working on today. Just so we can get some more game-like elements into this system, this game. So a common thing that you often do in a lot of text adventure games, and in a lot of puzzle games in general, is that you need to collect items to progress. And you need to bring certain items to certain places, or to go through certain exits. And sometimes you have to combine items in ways in order to do stuff. So what do we mean by object interaction? This is going to be pretty important in what we work on today. I'm thinking maybe we should work on... There's a couple of things. let's bring this in. Let's do, let's make this a to-do list here. Key items, exits. So exits, certain exits when you travel from a place to a place. The thing in between the two places is the exit. It's what connects the two rooms, you might call them. And I think that's what we call them in the engine, rooms, right? So the thing that connects two rooms are those exits. And we want to be able to say, like, check that a user has the right item in their inventory in order to use that exit. So check that the player has the right item in their inventory to use the exit. Right. Display some message if the user cannot go through. So that'll be good enough for exits and puzzles for those, right? Other kind that I would like are bringing an item, dropping an item in a room might interact with another item. Right. Actually, this is going to be very dependent on the kind of game we're building too, so let's just start with exits first. Then we can do like item to item interactions. Maybe we'll just note that there. Item to item interactions. And item room interactions. Okay, we'll define what those are later, but I just want to keep them in there, the to-do file, so that I don't forget. Okay, exit keys. So, let's make this work. We have our game world, and let's lock the front door. All right. So when I go to walk the front door, if I don't have, say, the shovel in my inventory, it should display a message to me, maybe in the scene here, that says like, you try to, some kind of message in there. That's what we should do, right? Okay. So let's do the simplest thing possible first. That could possibly work. Let's look at the engine. Adventure engine. Okay. So that's the room record or object that we use. That's items, containers, game objects, exits. All right, so we have a name, description, from and to. So the from and to is what connects the two rooms together. The name and description. So I think what we need here is to have some kind of, maybe we should have it like a set of items, right? And that way we could technically have a puzzle where you need like multiple items to open an exit. You know, you'd have the right ones. And if we just have the shovel, that should work too. All right. And I think the way I want them to work is it just checks the inventory. You don't have to like use the item on the door or anything like that. And that way we can keep things pretty simple. You just walk through the door, and if you can't, for some reason, it should check why you can't and tell you why. I think that should be good enough to kind of make that work. So let's do exit key items. And in the key items, let's make that a list of entity IDs of item. Right. So that's going to require us to fix a couple of things because we changed the definition of the type, and we have some stuff, as you can see, in the type errors there coded in to do that. So we'll make that default to, that's front door inside, front door outside. Front door outside is the one we want to have the entity ID for the shovel. But let's just add the empty list for now. And just make sure that our exits still work when there's no items required in that list. Which they should, because it won't check anything, right? Alright, so if I go, walk the front door. Right, we still go through, because we haven't added any code to check that yet, right? We just added the field. So let's go ahead and add the code for checking if I can move through an exit or not. So when I handle walk, right, this is where we handle that. When we check, we get the exit in current room. The args are going to have the exit name. Right. So first we check if the room exists in the database of rooms. So it might not. If the database isn't well formed, which it should be, but that's what you get when you use data structures. That kind of stuff. At least I haven't figured out a super Haskell type level adventure game engine yet, but that's fine. It does what it needs to do. So then we look up the exit 2 for in the rooms. So look at both sides to make sure that it's actually connected. And if it is connected, and the exit from for this current exit is equal to the room that the player is currently occupying, then we can update the world state and move the player to that room. This is where we should also add our check. All right, so we should get the what are we going to call it? Like check exit check or check exit item check exit items. Oh, yeah, actually, maybe we should just call it literally what it is. Does the player it's more like an inquiry. Does the player have the right items, or player has items, exit items, key items, something like that. Player has key items, and that'll be that'll need probably the inventory and the exit exit items on the exit, something like that. I probably messed it up. And that. Oh, although this is kind of the inverse of what we want. So let's flip that around. Make that equal to. Make this else, and make this then. Oops. Sorry, the cat just jumped up on my keyboard. Hi, honey. What's up? Haskell Cat's here to hang out. Then, yeah. So I'm going to just point it right there. Go to my exit. Exit key items, yeah, that's what I wanted. Exit key items. Right? And then we're going to need the player's inventory to pass to that. Let's see, that is player inventory on the room. As I recall, there we go. of the world. Cool. I don't like it pulled that far over, so I'm just going to pull that back. Okay, so we don't have player has key items defined yet, so let's do that. And that's going to take the list of entity ID of item, that is the player's inventory, the list of entity ID of item, that is the key items for the exit. Let's go return bool. That's all it has to do. All right, let's just make it return true no matter what and ignore its arguments for now. And just make sure that as long as this compiles and works, that we can still use the game as is, now that we have added this check in here. Of course, oh. Right, that's actually a map. Forgot to check the types there. Okay, Haskell catch. I know. She loves the pets. Loves them. Okay. So, that means we just have to... Oh, we got player inv in scope as well. So, haha. Oh no, that's for pickup. We can turn that into the values. I think that's what we can do. Apply that to, and let's make this a function of m.values, I think it is. And let's just check if that works. Oh, no, it's not values. It's, items? Elms. That's probably what I meant, GHC. That's pretty helpful. Thank you. Elms. What's going down, chat? Hey, Skybro. Nice to see you. Just checking in. How you doing? Thanks for stopping by. Saying hello. EBN from Declarative Programming Discord server. Right on. You're on the Discord. That's great. You should be on my channel, too. Yep. GNU software, a proprietary OS heckling. Thank you. I know, I can't help it. Like, I can't get Emacs out of my system. It's in my blood. It's so built into me now, I can't even... So even when I'm using Windows for reasons, gotta have my Emacs. And I'm glad it exists on here. So I'm getting entity ID of game object. Okay, so that's probably, I got the types mixed up there. Skybro, you would make it into a world something other game error world. Yeah. I'll make a game monad to tie all these things together. That is a pretty good way of doing that. When I started this engine, it was like obviously quite simple, and didn't really use that. I actually did add some kind of like monadic interpreter when I did the text version in a REPL. But now we have a GUI, so ripped that out. But yeah, I do kind of feel the same way, that it's starting to get to a level of complexity where I kind of want something like that at some point. I'm just kind of waiting for that complexity to show itself before I dive into it and kind of like just go, oh yeah, you know? Well, I think we're getting close. I think we're getting close because there's like a lot of these lookups and a lot of these lookups that can fail all over the place, and we can kind of just make that part of the like a part of the interface for the game monad for sure. Monad, tomato, I don't know. But you can't, I don't know if you can really overuse monads, to be honest. Maybe you can. I don't know. But it's just a useful abstraction. I don't fault it for existing and being used. Let's see though. So this would be a list of game object, not a list of entity ID items. Because we can have different kinds of game objects in the inventory. Alright, so I think from the game object we can get the entity ID out that we need for the key items for the exit to make this bool check work. Instance monad lower kappa. Kappa is the best monad, really. The le monad. Ceci n'est pas une monad. That would be the comonad of the le monad? I don't know. Let's see. Actual types, entity, game ID, object. Okay, sorry. I'm getting my types all mixed up here. But thank you, GHC, for correcting me. And this is why we love strongly typed, statically typed functional programming of the purest variety. Oh, lemonade! Yeah, I wasn't gonna get sorry. I ruined your joke. I am the joke ruiner. It's true. This happens to me in real life a lot. Sarcasm and me just don't exist very well, so people sometimes think I'm a little ditzy or something. I'm just not always there. But if you really want to get me, you gotta use like a good acorn or a good malpropism or a pun. I love those. Those are good. Lemonade. Lemonade. Sorry I didn't get that one. It's the pronunciation, because I always say aid. I didn't quite see it. Okay, so this always returns true. That compiles now. We should be able to run the game and use it as before, but now we have that check in there, so let's just make sure everything still works before, before we do that. Okay, cool. Part 1 of the problem, good. Now we actually have to make this check return false sometimes. Right, and how are we going to do that? So, the entity IDs of the game objects. I think those are also, if I remember correctly, it's been a while since I've looked at this part of the code. But I think those entity IDs are the same as what they would be if they were the items. World objects. So maybe actually it should be not entity ID of item, but entity ID of game object. Because in order to get to an item from a game object, we have to pull it out of that field. And, yeah, that might be the way to do it. We could still get the entity ID of the item from the game object. I think they are the same thing. True. Love them monad state lenses. So cool. If you haven't used the monad state lenses before, and you're wondering what Skybro is talking about, look it up. You can make some code that looks like almost like C code or C++, like very imperative looking, like code as you would expect. Which kind of like makes Haskell also really good at imperative programming too. Sometimes. But it's tricky to learn how to do it that way though, because it's so wild. It's so different than what we're used to. But they are very damn useful, I agree. Best imperative language. Yes, that's what I was referring to. Simon Peyton Jones claims it's the best imperative language. I don't entirely disagree. So let's just check, but I'm pretty certain that the entity IDs of the game objects are going to be the same as the entity ID of the item. Excuse me. A little bit of hydration. Okay, so let us fill out our check. Okay, so if that's true, then if this is a subset, oh no, sorry, if this list, the room key item, or the exit key items, is a subset of this list, then this should be true. And in fact, that's our entire check. Otherwise, false. Right? Because if this set doesn't have one of the entity IDs we need, or one of these key items, sorry, not going to happen. So let's try that. Player inventory. Exit key items. And so exit key items is some sort of operator there. I think there's a subset thing in there in data.list. But it should be that. And what that function is, it should be data.list. Let me check. I don't remember what it is. That's kind of the hard thing about knowing quite a few programming languages, is keeping it all in there. So I know what it would be as a set. The set operator is what I'm looking for. Set operations. Let's list difference, union, intersect. They only have intersect. Okay. It doesn't have the function I was thinking of. I mean, we could do it with checking, but that seems... not so good. I don't know. Skybro, I'm looking for the subset. Like, so all of these elements, this list of items is a valid subset of this bigger list of items. Right? Like something you would get from data.set. Yeah, but it looks like data.list doesn't exactly have that. I suppose we could write it and put it in a little utility file. Or, and this kind of like the ugly way of doing this would be to like take the set intersection and making sure that it's equal to the input of our key items. It's kind of a hacky way of doing it. But if that works, that should be fine. And if it's a performance, these ought to be pretty small, so I don't see it being a performance problem, really. So we could do it like this, where the exit key items with the intersect, right, of player inventory is equal to the exit key items. That might not work, maybe. Because the types. Yeah. So we do have to get this down to an entity ID of items, because types. I have not told Haskell that these are equivalent or can be treated interchangeably. Probably for good reasons, I guess. So let's see, how can we map that down to the items? So we can get it down to an object by taking that function, and from the object, we can pattern match down to the items, and so that would be like a filter. And then we could get the items from that and convert it to, and wrap those in, actually, we just want the ints out of the entity IDs. Alright, this is why. So we got to map them both down to just the ints out of their respective entity IDs. That's probably what we want there. So, let's go there and try that out. So we have to do something with that one. And this one. Should equal. And we have to do the same thing on the other side of the equal sign, of course, right? Should be that. And what this thing is. Right, we actually want it to be int. Since we're using this term twice, we can let bind it. Exit entity IDs. Something to exit key items. And didn't make that a new type, so we don't get a function wrapper, but we can basically do something like this. And just unwrap it. And replace this with entity or exit entity IDs. IDs like that, and we replace it on the other side on the equal sign, of course. Pow, pow, pow. Okay, and then we just have one more to go to make it, and now Haskell has enough information to know that hole should be an integer, which is a similar function here, right? Which means we probably want this function. We probably want entity ID to be a new type, perhaps, so that we can get that function. But we'll refactor this and make it look better in a moment. We just want to check that it works. Right, so we should still be able to walk through the door. All right, we can still walk back. Okay, so now the test comes. If we add the shovel to the list of key items required for this exit, now we should not, when we try the game, we should be blocked, right? This check should return false if we don't have it in our player inventory. We don't pick it up first. So let's go do that and add that shovel game object to the exit, or the entity ID for it. Ooh, that's gonna be tricky. The entity ID for the shovel, sorry, is gonna be 1. So, ah, thank you, Skybro. Yes, that is helpful. So when we go and clean up this code, we'll go back and fix that up. Cool. So if we try to walk through the front door, we should actually not be able to at this point. Yeah, so we get the Space Wizard error here. Not so useful as it once was. Because technically, not cheating, but we're getting to that left arrow branch. But that's good. That gives an indication we're on the right path here. Now if I pick up the shovel first, right, I should be able to walk through the front door now. And we can. Right. So, hooray! Lock door. Right. If we drop the shovel now, we try to walk through the front door, we wouldn't be able to anymore. Okay, so we pick that back up. Cool. Man, Skybro, that was... You're bringing back memories, friend. Whew. I played a lot of mods back in the day, and that was like... That was a big jam of mine. Don't worry about it, man. Just use somebody else's setting. Use a setting you like. Pick a novel you read recently and just use that. Rip it off. Doesn't matter. You're making a mud. So that's that. I don't think I played on Frandom. I used to play on Batmud a lot. And, Dragon Realms. And... Gosh, a whole bunch of them. That was kind of like one of my... I would say one of my first serious programming projects, like ages ago, back in the 90s, was trying to make my own muds and working with mud code and learning how to do that. After, like, my first door games, which were terrible, but fun. When I used to play on BBSs, like, before the internet. Nice. Yeah, you know, I think some of those... Achia is probably still on. I go back to Achia every now and again. So sometimes I play on this one. Super fun. I love the monk class. One of my favorites. And this company makes a lot of good games. And Dragon Realms... I think was the other mud. Yeah, I played a lot of this one. This one is really deep. Super good. Love it. Maybe we should do one on the stream, and we'll build one together, because these are super fun. We'll build the agency mud or something like that, you know? Maybe we'll make it, instead of just, maybe we'll make it a moo. Programmable in Haskell. Self-modifiable. That could be a fun project. Yeah, so I don't know. You're back at uni. All right, cool. I'm working on a course right now myself, actually, in my spare time. I decided to do Nantu Tetris Part 2. It's where you build a compiler, a VM compiler, and operating system interface, maybe. I don't know if they're actually going to build an operating system. So the first part was building like a computer from like hardware up to a functioning computer. Using, I think they just use like some kind of hardware description language and run through emulators and things like that, so that you didn't actually have to do any soldering or anything like that to do it. So it's a pretty cool course. And so I started doing this one because, you know, I don't know. I've built interpreters and I've built assemblers and stuff like that in the past, but I'm a bit rusty on it, so I thought it'd be fun. Yeah, that's my great fear and has what held me back from trying to go to university. I've always wanted to go back for like pure mathematics, just because I love that stuff. But hmm. Oh, nice, good for you. Enjoy it. You know, it's not wasted. But I wish you best of luck and stability and comfort. Right, so, enough of that for a little while. What were we? We were trying to get exits going. Yes, we got the part of it. We actually got the lock working, the locking part. So what we need to do now is fix that error handling bit, right? We don't want Space Wizard anymore. Space Wizard is kind of a special case where, well, actually, we're kind of combining two things. We actually probably should still have the Space Wizard level error. And it's really only for if we're handling a walk, but the player's not in the room that the exit they're trying to use is. Mud project could be a lot of fun. I agree. Especially, yeah, like a shared coding environment mud where you can hack it as you play it. It'd be pretty fun. And then it'd be a fun way for the stream to hang out together. All right, once it gets to a certain level of stability, we could all play together. Right, so yeah. So basically the error here with handling the walk is if the exit you're targeting or the room isn't set up right, this could happen. And that's kind of what the Space Wizard error was for, is kind of this catch-all sort of like something is awry. Either you found a way to cheat the game, or the game author who didn't set their world properly, didn't line up the exit IDs properly, or something messed up. Which I think is kind of still somewhat important to have. But yeah, otherwise we're gonna get branchy here. That's okay though. This part of the condition is basically where that would come from. So let's pull that out, and we'll, for now, nest our if conditions. And then we have to have an else here. What would we put here? And this is the branch where we want to put our non-like threatening error, where we want to like display something to the user. I don't know what it should be quite yet, how we should do that, but I think I kind of want to put it into the scene as part of the scene text. Right, if we try to go through this front door instead of Space Wizard, I'd like to like have a new scene rendered here with like just a little message, a one-time kind of message that it's kind of temporary. That's what I think I kind of want. Like, you know, you can't. The door is locked, or whatever the author decides to put there as a message. So it should probably be part of the exit, the error message that we want to display, and then we have to put the error messages somehow into the scene for rendering. So exit key fail message, some text. Okay, so this was fine, right? We have the maybe text here, so there might not be a fail message because we might not have any key items. And these really should be together. And having them apart, because they kind of depend on each other, right? Like if we have an empty list of key items, then we don't need a message and that should be nothing. But I don't want to have to like handle the case where like this is actually something and this is empty. Or that wouldn't really matter, but you know, this being non-empty and this being nothing would be an error. And we would only be able to kind of detect that kind of at runtime, essentially. Unless we really are careful in the construction of our exits when we load them. So what I'm thinking is maybe this type here isn't good. We should put the two bits of data together into a type. What to call it though? Like exit lock? Maybe like a list of entity ID items like we have, and some text message like what to say to the user if they fail to have the items in their inventory. All right, and then we can have an exit lock, and instead we can have a maybe exit lock. So that would make things a little nicer. So either it's a lockable thing or it's not. That kind of removes actually one, we can just pattern match on that. And then if we have to do the check, we do the check. Otherwise, we can do the regular logic with the Space Wizard stuff. Yeah. So then we're going to have to update our function again. Our checking function. Here. And now we can we can go like we can case match on that. So the exit lock. All right, so either it has no lock, or it has a exit lock of exit key items and error text. Cool. This still applies. And we could probably just take this formula here as a guard. Think. Player has key items, MLMs, blah blah blah. And we can replace this with exit key items. Right. We can get rid of this branch there of that. And then this should just be and then we have the other case, otherwise. this also fits in the nothing case. We don't have to check for the lock. We have a little bit of duplication. Maybe some unused necessary dues, perhaps. Otherwise, we need some message to display in the scene. Okay, so let's go look at the scene. All right, so it's got the list of objects, list of scene exits, things like that. This is like a thing that we render. We derive from the game state, the current world, or yeah, the current world state. It's kind of like a view of the world state, and we see them rendered all the time, right, when we play the game. So in here, I'm thinking maybe we could have, or maybe, oh, like there's world log messages. I don't think anything else uses that, actually. Probably what I originally put it in there for. Yeah, world log messages. So looking in things, handle look. Where do we render those? Actually, I don't know where that's rendered right now anymore. Look. Front door. It looks like we don't render them at all. Yeah. So we could probably fix that to render into the. When we go to generate the scene, we could take the current list of messages to render from those log messages, and generate the scene from that, render the scene, and then the next part of updating the world would be to clear out those lists, because they're only temporary. They'll only be rendered once. There's kind of like an optional thing to render with the scene if they're present. It's kind of like shuffling things around and things, but the reason why is because we generate these scenes on the fly, right? So that's probably the way to go there, I think. Do like scene messages as well to just be a list of text strings, it looks like. I'm just going to break a whole bunch of stuff for a little while. So, hold on. Let's rehydrate. We'll get to it. Alrighty. So when we add messages, messages, log messages. Yeah, when we handle look, for example, look in container, handle drop, all good. Some update. Render. So we take a world and we get a scene. This is where we generate them. So we should get the messages out. Probably pull them here. And pop them into the scene. Yeah, the hole is still there. That's fine. Okay. A whole bunch of stuff broke that I haven't been paying attention to. So let's go fix some of that. That should be good enough for the scenes for now. And let's go fix this one. They're all pretty small. Here, these are entity IDs. We changed it to a lock. So let's go do that here. Let's create adjust. And we're going to do entity lock. And with a list. And we're going to give it some text. You find it won't budge. Maybe you can use the shovel to bash it down. Okay, that one should be good. Normally, yeah, I still haven't fixed my tooling yet to get this working in Emacs again. Or exit lock, not entity lock. Yes, that is what I meant. Thank you, GHC. So helpful. Right, okay, we just got the hole there. Just exit lock, okay. Yeah. Okay, let's fix this one, 196. That could just be nothing. That one's easy to fix. 323. Could not match expected type. Okay, 323. Yes, so that requires an exit. That's all that's happening there. Okay, so then it's just our hole, and let's jump to our hole. Let's just leave it undefined for now, just so we can get that to go away. Get it to build. Or get to the next type error. Yes, 56. Okay, and GUI, because the GUI rendering code touches scenes, of course. And it looks like it does some deconstruction there, so we just have to put messages. That's what we're going to work on next, basically. Okay, cool. So let's add the message we want to render to the scene. So like here, you see list of objects, possible exits, so let's put so we only need to include it in this VStack list if the messages, if there are any messages to render. Otherwise, we don't want to display them at all in this widget. How can we do that? Because we can include it on the end. We kind of have like a it's kind of brittle, but like this is a list, so we could maybe do like a little check here for non-empty messages and kind of like add it at the right index. It makes the rendering a little bit brittle because then we have to like know if we change the indices of these, we have to like also fix that as well. I'm not too upset with that. To be honest, I don't know. Let's give it a shot. So if it's not null messages, actually, maybe we could just render them. I wonder if like a VStack of these labels, if the VStack's empty, will it render anything at all? Or it'll just like, and not like kind of like bump anything around, like mess with the layout? Like if the container is empty. Let's see if how that looks. So rendered messages will be a VStack of labels. And we'll map label or messages. Of course, we gotta actually like format this properly. Basically right after, say, the room description, rendered messages. Will that work? Looks like we're compiling. Okay. Ooh. Yeah, so that went to our undefined, of course. My bad. Pick up foo. That would be displayed as an error. No way to test this right yet. Yeah, okay. That's okay, because the code to implement this now and actually test this is awaiting our definition. So let's go do that. Otherwise, we have the game state world. And then we're just going to update the world log messages. And we'll put our error message there, which is going to come from our error text. And we'll append that on to the world log messages. Did we pull that out anywhere? Already no. Okay, so messages of world. Is that happy? Not quite happy. Possibly because that's not the right name of the function. That should be not the right operator, maybe. And that needs to be a pure. Yes, it does. It's a pure world, a happy world, a functional world, where the types always match. Okay. So now, if we try to walk the front door, aha, there's our message, you find it won't budge. But if we pick up, say, the shovel now, we get, see now the second part of this, we need to clear out that message in the world state, but now we got the shovel and we should be able to walk the front door here. But that's going to keep showing up. right? In every scene we render, because we're not clearing that out, so we need to fix that part. No problem. So let's go to where we handle the updates from the user input. Update game. So we get the rendered scenes, we get the rendered world prime. That's the next state of the world. Yeah, from handle. Here. Okay, and we actually want to bind that for a sec. Because we want to return pure W, but with the world log messages empty. Cool. So now, if I walk the front door, I should get a message, which is not there. Dang it, not quite right. Yeah, I think I know why. Basically, we don't want to set this always. Hey, Count Doran, how you doing? Welcome back to the stream. How's it going? We are just working on this cool adventure game. Or at least, we'll see. Doing pretty good. Hacking some Haskell, got a good stream going. Some awesome folks dropping by. Can't be happier. Well, maybe, but it's pretty good. So yeah, we're right now when we handle in the game loop, this is just getting rid of any log messages we have. Yeah, which isn't quite right. This is peak happiness. It's true. Yes, we don't want to clear it out right away. We just want to... Yeah, this isn't right. This isn't right. Let's back out of that. We want to render it first and then clear it out before we go. Out to here. So let's try it this way. After we've rendered everything out of the scene and all that. Our world log messages, not game log messages. Zaboop. Ah, the world of C++. It's good times. It's good times. It is what it is. What version of C++ are you working on there, Countdoran? Do you get to use some of the newer stuff, or are you on like an older code base? Okay, like that's not too bad, right? Like it's not the worst. Could be. It's not like C++ 89 or something. Like, come on. Okay, so if I pick up if I try to lock the front door, I should get my won't budge message, but if I just look again, it goes away. Cool. Now if I pick up the shovel, right, and I walk the front door, it should be fine. Cool. Yeah. I like what C++20 is adding with concepts. It's kind of a, I think, a terrible word or choice for a name, but it is what it is. Committee has decided, it is done. But it seems like they're going to be adding something like constraints, like type class constraints, but template parameters. It looks like, to my understanding, which should help with template programming immensely, I think. Cool. Cool, so we got key items mostly done. I mean, the formatting and styling of these labels would be nicer some of the way, but it works. What else? Should we have, like, a bit of text for the success case when you walk through the door and add those to the messages as well? Just so the user knows that they, you know, they had the right thing. Maybe we should, like a success case message, that would be nice. Let's do that too, before we call it done. So let's go back to engine, or go to our exit lock. So text. Now we kind of might want to make it a record here instead of a raw type like this, just so that we know, because text. Which one's which? That would be confusing. So the exit lock key items. Do that. The exit lock fail text, and the exit lock success text. Also text, we'll get rid of those. Okay, I'm just going to have to fix a couple of the... Oh, pardon me. Sorry. That's air text, success text. Then we'll add the success text here to world log messages. Success text. World log messages. Oh, world. And then we just have to update that one, or we defined one. Use the shovel and knock it. You knock in the door with the shovel. There we go. What's a game without a little bit of violence against doors? Not quite right, because I'm not using a good style here. Probably be a little more descriptive. But that code's going to eventually get removed anyway, so whatever. Cool. Alright, so if I try to walk the front door with my shovel, of course, you find it won't budge. If I pick up the shovel first, I'm like, oh, hey, let me try that. Alright, I got the shovel now. I try to walk from the front door. You knock in the door with the shovel. Ah. If I look, and then that message goes away. That's nice. Super duper. Okay, so it works. We're not quite done yet. We need to clean up the code, but I'm going to take a little brief pause to commit this here now that it's good. So added, or when this change is applied, it will add exit locks to exits. This allows the story designer, or the, going to be a user in my system, story developer, me, maybe for the first game for this engine, to add locks to exits that require the player to have certain key items in their inventory to proceed. Boom. Okay, but of course, it's not done, it's not complete until you've refactored your code a little bit and cleaned things up, right? So when I want to, go fast and get something working to test it out, I kind of just write whatever comes to mind, the first thing that works, and just keep it simple. But then you got to clean up after part 2. So simple things we can do here are kind of do a few more let binds for common expressions here that we're using, I think. Yeah, the log messages. Right, we could do that one. World. And replace those. That's simple substitution, not too bad. Using a couple places here and here. And that's it. Yeah, okay. These nasty little functions here, the entity ID thing, probably should clean that up. And one way we could do that is we could make this a new type. I don't think that'll break anything major. It already is a new type, actually, so that's a simple one, actually. Derp. And yeah, that's really easy. We can just do it like this. Get entity ID is the function. And so we can replace all of those silly functions. In fact, let me just kind of grab those. Nice. Okay, looking a little better. We have this kind of duplicated twice here. Which is something we could probably pull out. Let's just pull it out like this. It's going to need the exit, player room, the world. Although all those things are in, can we just use it like this? Might be able to. Let's see what GHC says. variable, not in scope, yeah. Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna have to pull those things in scope, yeah. Of course. Yeah, so let's do some short names for these. Room and world. Not quite what I want, but I don't mind adding the valve back in there. Exalt. Exit. Do that room. And this one could be world. So I'm gonna give it the exit layer room and the world. I should be happy. We got it right. First try. Okay, move player. Let's just give that a type. When I where bind stuff, I don't know why. If I'm just like where binding a value, it's kind of like a let binding. I don't really give it the type spec, but if it's like a function, I tend to. Inference sometimes breaks down, and I find it's just a good defensive thing to do with Haskell code. So let's go do that. This is a exit, I think. A entity ID for a room. And the world. Returns either game error or world, I think. Let's see. We agree. We can also do just the silly old is it int type and ask GHC. It looks like I got it right. Okay. Super. So we can replace that there, and then we can replace this here. Player. Exit. Player room. World. Sweet sickness. Loving it. And we can clean this code up a little bit too. We can just make this if condition a guard. And the else branch just becomes an otherwise. And then we'll just line those up nice and neat. Yeah, it's looking a little better. Okay. Well, I think that's pretty good. All right. So I'll call that just a refactor. Whatever. And let's just squash those together into one commit. So, and it looks like we just wrote amazing good code right off the bat. Even though we didn't. Sweet. All right. What else is in our to-do to do? Let's mark exit keys as done. Okay, item to item interactions and item to room interactions. Those are going to be tricky. Tricky indeed. Okay. What would item to item interactions even look like? Well, what would the user type? Let's think of that too. I think I'm going to need a new verb for it. Alright, so like, I like the key items ones, nice passive one, you just have to have the right inventory items. But let's say we want, in this game, the user to be able to use an item on another item in the room, or something like that. Like, we can put items in containers. We can take items out of containers. And I think we can actually examine or look in Brawly bucket, for example. All right, we see inside the Brawly bucket, you see a Brawly. Let's say I wanted to like smash the Brawly bucket, or something like that. Should we implement those as like other commands, other verbs? Well, actually, no. That's what I was thinking for this. What I was thinking is that some items would give you different verbs. So like smashing the Brawly bucket, right? If we had the shovel in hand, maybe it gives us the smash verb, right? And these verbs are going to have to be something we're going to have to pre-program. There was something I was intending that you could define, but it doesn't look like we'll be able to do that with this, the way this is coded. Nevertheless, though, we could define a smash verb and handle it, but the user just can't use it yet because it's not part of the game state. And they don't have the right item in their inventory. So we could add, we could do that. Yeah, item verbs. I think it should be the next one. And that, I think, will be the precursor to get item to item and item to room stuff going. Yeah. So item verbs should be the thing we should go. So like, yeah, when you pick up the shovel, you should get a smash verb to try. The user might not know that they can smash with the bucket or with the shovel. So it might be up to the game designer, the storyteller, to kind of add that into a hint into the description if they want to, or they could leave it hidden. You know, maybe some mysterious item you don't know what you can do with it. Maybe you can frob it, right? And that would be like a thing you have to figure out by looking at the lore or something. It would be part of the puzzle. Or, you know, depending on how the game goes and how the design comes out, we want to try to like have a way of knowing what you can do and what you can't do. I don't know. Item verbs. I want to be able to pick up an item and get a new thing I can do with it. Interact with the world. So the first part, that's going to be like kind of a multi-part thing, I think. That one is going to be, first we have to be able to attach a new verb to an item so that when you pick it up, we know you have it and we can add it to the game state, the player's verbs. The game state verbs here. This verb alias map. So let's go ahead and look at the item. We now have a size and a weight currently used, but it's there, simulating the size and weight of objects in a world. We could use that part of our game engine. And we should probably have a new field here for that. Item of verbs. Oh, why these are primed. Maybe because it clashed with something. Right, and that would be a set of verb. that's probably going to introduce a couple of quick little type errors, because we have some example stuff, item, So, like, this is my quick item constructor. We could put a list of verb here as part of it. A little bit too point free with it, but yeah, it's just temporary. Size, weight. Overly point free. And then we use that down here and there. Oh, and one more place. What else we use? Oh, Magic Brawly. Right. So actually, we should probably update that so you can have a smash verb to try and dig. That would be a good one. Let's just stick with dig. Let's just do one. Okay. So we pick up the shovel. Not only is it a key to get into the front door, but we should also be able to dig with it. Add a new verb. So that's that. Verbs are nothing terribly special. It's just like that. So we need to add it to our... No, we keep it out of the verb alias map because we need to add it to the verb alias map from the item when the user picks it up. So let's go update our shovel. Actually, this is a fine place to start here. Add item verb list to items. Yes, and let's add a verb dig to the shovel. And that's good. So that's fine. And now what we need to be able to do is when we pick up, we got to update handle pickup so that it adds the verb to the player's list. And we should probably also update drop as well. When you drop the shovel, you should not have a big verb anymore. So the verbs do have to be unique because it is a map. Okay? So you can't have two things that have a verb, a dig verb. It just won't work. It'll break the game in funky ways, which might be something you want to mess around with as a storyteller building your game, but it will mess things up. Or maybe it won't. I don't know. But yeah, it probably would. Right? Because if you try to, if we implement the dig verb and the dig handling and stuff like that, I think it'll probably, get to a weird place if you try to dig with something else that happens, and we happen to hard code it to handle shovels. Right? And then you try to assign the dig verb to another item, and it starts acting like a shovel. Maybe it's something you want to do. I don't know. But we'll see. We'll see if it's a problem. So, yeah. Pickup. Handle pickup. There it is. There's our friend pickup. And not only do we need the object, we have the object name. Yeah, we get the object ID from the current room. We look up the the room the player is currently in to make sure that the player is actually there. During the Space Wizard error, if something monkey business is happening in the current state. And then we look up the object ID in the objects that are a part of the room. So this here is kind of voided because it's just like a step, I guess, just to verify. Same with this one here. And then we adjust the room by removing the item from the inventory of the room and insert into player inventory. So the other thing we need to be able to do is if the item has a non-empty list of verbs, we should add those verbs to the map, the verb map, the alias map there. So it means this will have to be changed. World verbs, potentially. Maybe I got the thing wrong. Not in scope. Course. Verb. Alias. Map. World. No, it's game state. Sorry, game state verbs. We need access to the game state. I don't know if we have it at handle pickup. I don't think I do. Well, that could be a problem. So we might need to move that down. Move that field from game state to world, which would be a bit of a refactor to make that work, but we would need it to be here. Just like the player's inventories, the player's room, the current player verbs should probably also be in here as well. Okay, so let's back out of that then, and we're gonna have to do that refactor first before we can get too far with this. That should be fine. Let's just get rid of that chunk. Add the dig verb to the shovel. Okay. Let's see, what are we doing for time? We don't have a whole lot of time for this, so we'll see how far we get. Basically, we want to take the verb alias map out of game state verbs. How? We want the world to have that. We'll call it player verbs. Right. And that'll be the verb alias map. Yeah. We're just going to break a whole bunch of stuff. That's fine. That's how we do. The nice thing is that GHC is going to tell us exactly all the different places we got to fix that we broke by changing the structure of our data. So I believe we added that onto the end, so we should just be able to do that. Right, 525. These. So when we update the game, we were getting the verbs from here. We're not anymore. We're getting it from the world. All right, so where did we use V's in here? We used... And yeah, we didn't use them anywhere. So I probably don't have the build error on. That should probably be there. It was an unused argument. That, I find, is a good warning to have, a build warning to have on in your project. So I'm going to add that to my to-do list just so I don't forget. As a chore or cleanup. Add unused arguments warning. Because, and the reason why I find it's useful is because when you don't use an argument in your function and you don't explicitly ignore it, you're probably not writing the right code. It's probably wrong somehow. Most functions want to use their arguments at least once. So it's a good, I think that's probably why it's not on by default, but it's a good one to have. So we'll do that at some point. Let's focus on what we got going on here though. 537. So game errors because it's one less argument. That makes sense. 474. Okay, let's look here. Oh, again, we're pattern matching out worlds. We need an extra argument to here. Or destructuring, or whatever you want to call it. 465. Oh no, that might be in GUI actually. Nope, still an engine. World should have 7, but it's giving me 8. Oops. Gave it an extra one. What did I get wrong originally then? I was probably looking... Not thinking too hard about it. Okay, 474. Right. Okay. Right, okay, it's not on the end. Right, that's messages, it looks like. I think we put it before messages, actually. It's kind of the drawback, I guess, of destructuring your records that way when they get big enough. Okay, so then there's some stuff with game state verbs where we were getting the verbs out of the game state in order to do some of the handling. So we should fix that, that's good. And then a couple of other things with extra fields. So let's go fix that one, because that's probably the big one. In getVerb. Actually, that's going to be a small one too. GetVerb's a small function. Alright, so it's not, it's no longer in game state, it's in player verbs on the world. So commented out code we can probably clean up. Perfect. Okay. Let's go to 258, fix that. Right, game state here. Because we don't need the default verb alias map anymore. That's got to go in the world. Our default world. Where do we find that here? Yes. Default verb alias map. I think we're getting there. Good. Okay, we're back to good. We're back to green. Happy place. Okay, and let's just make sure we didn't break anything. I'm pretty sure everything's gonna be fine though. Okay, pick up the shovel. It's picked up. All right, one at the front door. All good. Lock them out. Don't need to see none out here. Okay. Sweet. And so we can still use all of our verbs that we have at our disposal. All right, we're holding a shovel. We can't dig with it yet. It still says I don't know what you mean by dig, so it's not adding it to the verb map yet. So But now we can do it. So let's commit that. When applied, this will move the verb alias map to the world. Okay, and now we should be able to go back to pickup. We handle pickup. And we change player verbs. All right, and now default alias map is just a map. I believe. Alias map. Yeah, it's just a map of verb to verb. And that was because of our aliasing stuff. So we should probably actually define that alias as well on the item. Yeah, let's do that quick. That seems like the right thing to do. Item. Almost feels like this should be, this tuple should be a type itself. I don't know if well, that might be a fine way of defining it. Anyhow, that's gonna just a couple of small type errors for this one. We want to ignore the typo for now. Let's just undefine that. And then, yeah, and then it's just these ones, so like on line 46, where we have like a definition that uses it. This should be just verb to verb. $174. There should be a tuple. And of course, the short names for these are going to have to be unique as well. So it might not, your game might not work properly if you don't if you're not careful. That's good enough. Aliases, 2 items. Actually, we're going to squash it down later anyway. Okay, so now we should be able to go back to pickup. Okay. And now that we have the alias, we should be able to just insert that with map. Insert. And we can pull that apart into its constituent things. So we could probably just do this with query m.insert and get the but if it's empty list, it's going to be more than one. So we're going to map. We have to map some function over the item. Ooh, right. We have some other things we have to do here. Because the item here is, or it's an object right now. It's a game object, which is that big container for different kinds of things. And we've said only items have verbs associated with them. So we have to know if this is an item, We're going to have to reach into it, basically, and pull those things out in order to do that. However, we are kind of out of time for the stream today. So, I'm going to leave that for another time. Just make sure this build goes back to green. Stays that way. Cool. And we'll just kind of look at our unpush commits here. I think... yeah, we'll go from there. We'll squash these down. If I can. Oh, I got some unchanged streams. Yes. Whatever. Blah, blah, blah. Rebase here, interactively, yeah. And I want to rewrite that one. Just because I want to say it's a verb alias list to items to allow picked item up items to add verbs to the alias. Added the Duke verb to the shuffle. There we go. Good. Push that up. Done. Well, stream, it's been another week of awesome Haskell hacking. Thanks for stopping by. It means a lot to me, and I have a lot of fun doing this for you. So, if you like it, and this is your first time visiting, try following. It will, if you sign up for notifications, it'll let you know when I go do these streams and when I go live. Otherwise, just know that I usually do these streams about Tuesday nights, once a week. Yeah, around 8-10 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, or Standard Savings Times, whatever it is. And join the Discord. Skybro is awesome, and he's there totally on it. And you should be like Skybro. There are lots of cool declarative and functional programmer streams you can find on there, and we have a cool channel for the agency there as well that you can follow me and we can chat between streams about your projects, what you see on the stream here, whatever you want really. It's a fun place. And that's all I got for now. So we'll see you next week. May all your monads be free, and may your types always check. Stay safe out there and have fun.